Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel. Next week I'm celebrating my 40th birthday, so I thought that today we would make a celebration cake. Before we get started, I just want to give you some hot tips to make sure that your cake works out perfectly. So number one, don't use a spring form tin like this where the bottom comes out, because as you'll see, our mixture is very runny. So you'll need some tins like this, and we're going to be using two 20 centimetre cake tins. I also recommend you get a set of scales. I think it's always best to use the weights rather than cups if it is listed on the recipe, because again, this just ensures that your recipe will turn out as it should. I also recommend that for this recipe, you grease and line your tins just so that your cakes pop out beautifully without breaking. Some equipment that you'll need. You will need 2 bowls for this recipe because you'll be doing your wets and dries in separate bowls. You'll need a whisk. You'll also need a sieve and then just some measuring cups. So let's begin by preparing our tins firstly. Now here is how I make my paper liners. Okay, let's get started. So firstly, we're going to need 280 grams of plain flour. Next, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of baking powder and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Then we're going to add 270 grams of a raw sugar. So I'm just using a raw caster sugar here. And we're going to use 80 grams of Rapadura sugar. You might like to use a coconut sugar or a brown sugar. And lastly, we're just going to sift in our cocoa powder, which I've already measured out. So we've got 80 grams here. And then we're going to whisk all the dry ingredients together really well. Okay, lovely. So we're going to put our dry ingredients aside, and then we're going to get our second bowl out and add all of our wet ingredients. So we have 3 eggs. Next, we're going to add 3/4 of a cup of olive oil, which makes our beautiful chocolate olive oil cake. Now I'm sort of contradicting myself here because I'm using a cup measurement, but I tend to weigh out my dry and then use the cup measurements for the liquids. So I'm just using a full cream milk here, but if you wanted to do a dairy-free alternative, you could just use an almond milk or a coconut milk. That would work out perfectly in this recipe. So next we're going to add 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. As you can see, I love my apple cider vinegar. And then we're going to whisk all of these together. Now we're going to add our oil, eggs, milk and vinegar to our dry ingredients. Stir all of those together. Then slowly add in 1 cup of boiling hot water. So I just add half. Mix that together and then add the remainder. This batter is so watery, you're going to think that you did something wrong, but just trust us. We make this cake in the bakery all the time, but it is super watery, so that's why you can't use a spring form baking tray. So now we're just going to split the mixture into the 2 tins. Now we're going to pop them in the oven, fan forced at 180 degrees. And we're going to put them in the oven for at least 50 minutes. Okay, so while our cakes are baking in the oven, we're going to get started on our icing. For this recipe, we're going to need 50 grams of butter, 250 grams of our cream cheese, 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder, and 200 grams of pure icing sugar. Just make sure that your butter and your cream cheese have softened, just to make sure that when we're creaming it, there's no lumps. We're going to sift in our cocoa powder and our icing sugar. Okay, that's all blended together beautifully. So just always do the nice taste test. That's delicious. And now we're going to decorate our cake. So we've got our cakes here that have been chilled. We've got our chocolate cream cheese icing. And I'm going to decorate with some freeze-dried strawberries and some fresh edible flowers. So I'm just going to put half the mixture in the middle and then the other half on top. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We really hope that you love our delicious chocolate EVOO cake. The recipe link is in our description, and don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time. Are you watching Ted Lasso? How good is it? I love that Rebecca girl.
Oh my god, same.
She's the winner. She's overtaking Ted.
Yeah.